Okay, I'm going to continue with just the wire hack, and I apologize, I had done a short portion of the video and my batteries went dead on the DXG. So anyway, you can see where I soldered back onto this board. I soldered on a red power and a white power. Just the red would have been where the red was for the speaker or mic, and then the white would have been where the black is. Now what I do, and you don't have to, you can actually run these down right along the edge and over. But what I like to do is run them underneath. For some reason, for me it works better and it gives me more room. So I take those wires, move them underneath the board, and underneath and out of the way of where the post is for that screw. Okay, goes back in, put that down there with the two corresponding screws, that being the bottom board. Okay, you're good to go. The only thing you would have to do if you wanted to run your external switch either here or outside is just solder then a red speaker wire there off the one you took. Otherwise you just leave it loose inside the camera. Now you won't have any sound. Then what I do is I just make sure that these run to right here where the battery separation is. Now what I did is I've already got it done, but I've done one of my no-brainer hacks for the lens, so it's already complete. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put that back in before closing up the camera, and then the no-brainer hack will be subject of another video. Okay, so you put that back in. It's got the guide posts in there as well as the hole you screw the lens in. Now this part is very, very important because again, a thousandth of an inch can make a big difference in the focus of your camera. What you want to do is make sure that they are equally tight, but don't over tighten them because you're dealing with plastic. And if you over tighten them with plastic, we all know what's going to happen. You're going to strip it. So put your lens back in. Then what you do is slide in where your AV, right over here where I'm pointing, there are two jacks. What you do is you get your wires out of the way, gently slide that in, and then just gently work the board and it goes right in place. So what you do, take the two screws for the board, and when I say the two screws for the board, again I'm talking about this one and this one. Put those back in. You're done with the mic portion of the hack. Now we're going to do with the camera operation. Alright, so flip this back. What I do is I try to put just a little bit of tin right here. And right here is, I'll switch to macro, the far post. Oops, right there, the far post. That's where your power hack is. I pre-tin my power wire. Put that on there. Very important. that you don't have any leftover tin sticking up, because then what it will do is it will ground out at the bottom of the LCD screen. Now this way you can actually run the wire underneath here with the LCD screen on the 557 version being up here, this bar here being up here, you actually got to run it across. So anyway, your power portion is done. Put your screws in there to mount your LCD. Go ahead and make sure your switch here, this little white plastic goes right back into the black plastic. Again, there's 4 screws, 3 at the top. Your little metal piece here. What I like to do is I like to run my wire, as you can see, right along in there. So I put the metal piece over it. And this will be the shortest of the screws that you took out. That's how you identify that. Put it back in there. Your LCD mount is all fine. Now, you're going to pop off this button. Just pull. It comes off very easy. This is going to be your shutter. And I will try to zoom in there. I understand I'm going to lose clarity. But for our purposes, your shutter point is the middle one right there. That's where you solder. So again, I'm going to take my soldering iron and attempt to put just a little bead of solder in there. Sometimes I'm able to, sometimes I'm not. Again, this is where it's very important to have tin wire. Alright, so I've got it. Here's my common wire. Now, some guys use different colors. I like, just for the sake of knowing what I've got done, I like to have my wires red for power, white for shutter. That way when they're sticking outside the camera, I'm not wondering what it is I had. So, and then put your wire on it. Check, make sure it's nice and tight, which this one is. Okay, now you've got the shutter portion done. Sorry about that. I'll back out the zoom. Okay, so now I've got my shutter. And I run all of this. You'll see here in a little bit, a little hole. Alright, now, next thing I'll do, and there's probably a lot of ways to do the next part. I used to take out the battery terminal post. If you're careful, you don't need to do it. What I do is I twist my wire like this in a U shape. And what I do is I lay it off to the side, just a nudge of the solder point on the battery terminal. And then I gently tin that in. Without melting any of the camera case. And this helps the camera go back in later on without having any issues catching up. So I've got that, and then I'll show you how I route those wires out. Now some guys route theirs differently than mine. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way. With every other cam building method,